I'd like to tell you a story from the annals and histories of the Nagel clan. This is a famous story. When I was a boy, it was probably third grade, living in Pendleton, Oregon. Across from me lived a boy in my class named Mike Brown. Not his real name, I changed his name. So, as I said, Mike and I were in the same class, same age. And so he wasn't my best friend, but we hung out together because, again, we're in the same neighborhood. Frankly, Mike was a bit of a bully. He didn't bother me, but he picked on my youngest brother, Scott. He'd call him names, push him around sometimes. Scott was probably 5. And I let him get away with this. I wasn't physically afraid of Mike. I was bigger than he was, but I think it was more like, we're the big kids in the neighborhood. We're the same class. We have a gang going on here, and I don't want to undermine the proper exercise of our power. Something's kind of going on in my head, I think. Well, my dad found out that Scott was getting picked on, and he wanted to know why we weren't standing up for him. I think he especially wanted to know why I was the oldest of the boys, why I wasn't standing up for him. But he was talking to all of us, Lisa, my older sister, and Reed, my younger brother, then little Scott. He said, there are 4 of you, 1 of him. How can this happen if you care for one another? So next time Mike picks on Scott, here's what I want you to do, he told us. I want whoever sees this happening, whoever the 4 of you, the other 3 of you sees this happening, to hurry and gather all together, and then you're going to go all and jump on Mike like a dog pile. Don't hit him, no hitting, but just lie on him. He won't be able to do anything. You'll see. We'll take care of him. Well, not long afterwards, so this was a regular occurrence. So not long after, Mike started picking on Scott again. I don't remember which of us gave the alarm, but all of us gathered, and I remember when Mike saw the 3 of us bearing down on him, he started to run away, but we caught him, tackled him, and we all did a dog pile on top of him. Last of all, Scott got on top of the pile. So there Mike was looking up at us, and he's yelling at us, but he was powerless. We just lay there. And then we finally said, if you ever pick on Scott again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Now, we were probably pretty heavy, but I don't think that was it. I think it was just such a ridiculous situation. Because he was trying to squirm, yelling, but we just lay there silently, and eventually it just kind of ran out, steam. And the ridiculousness of the situation just sort of won. And we realized that he had lost his power. He just lost his power. I thought about that incident. Again, a Nagel famous incident. About standing up for someone we love while I was reading this story of the man born blind. So Jesus is under suspicion here by the Pharisees. And then he goes and he performs this miracle upon the Sabbath. So the Pharisees, they take this man who's been cured and they grill him, but who they really are looking for to get is Jesus. And so we see the formerly blind man's parents, they won't stand up and protect their son, let alone Jesus, because they're afraid that they're going to get kicked out of the synagogue and the society of the town is going to turn on them. We do not know how he sees, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He's of age. He can speak for himself. We're not going to talk. The healed man, on the other hand, he's experienced Christ, so he stands up for him. When the Pharisees say, we know that this man is a sinner, daring him not to agree. And the man just says, if he's a sinner, I don't know. What I do know is I was blind, now I see. And he does. There's consequences. He gets tossed out of the synagogue. But he doesn't care because he's just witness to what Christ's done for him. So I was thinking about this. These days, in our culture, Jesus, the Catholic Church, these are sometimes verbally attacked in our presence. People go after us. What do we do? Do we stand up for our brother Christ, our mother, the church? And even if we do, or we want to, how do we do that? What should we do? I think the story of Mike and Scott offers some insights for that question. Like me in the presence of my friend and the parents of the man born blind, we can be intimidated by the powers and the attitudes of our society, whether it's the gang of the neighborhood, whether it's your class at school, your workplace, your family, all sorts of ways in which we can be intimidated. We're afraid we're going to get cast out of the group, or maybe we're going to be made a target ourselves. They're talking about our faith, but if I bring it up, they're going to aim at me. But if I don't say anything, they're not going to know it. They're not going to aim at me. So I'll just be quiet. It's scary to get picked on. So not only might speaking up for Jesus have social consequences, but it's also, what do I say? Maybe I don't even know what to say. Here I would go back to my father's advice and plan, which was, don't hit back. Just use the weight of your love to impress upon this other person what you feel and have experienced in Jesus and or the church. So the man born blind, when he's brought before the Pharisees, he doesn't argue theology with them. He doesn't quote scripture about the Sabbath laws, for instance. He doesn't try to make a case for healing. Jesus would do this. He does that. But the blind man doesn't do it. He probably can't do it. He doesn't have any training in this kind of theology or something. He just witnessed to what Jesus had done for him personally. If he's a sinner, I do not know, but I do know I was blind and now I see. And they have nothing to say about that. They can't contradict that. It's true. So if we've been silent in the past when the conversation turned against Christ or turned against the church, what if we were able to simply say, I don't know about those details, I'm not sure, but I do know that Jesus has done this for me. Or I do feel this way about Christ. Or this has happened to me. Or, again, I regret you've had that experience with the church, but the Catholic Church has provided me with X or Y or Z. So witnessing for Christ, it isn't a matter of arguing or debating, but of sharing of the conviction of one's heart that we've been touched by God. And what if all of us were to do that? What a weight we would have to impress upon people that God is real and He's changed us. Maybe He'll change you. So I think we underestimate the importance of standing up for our faith. It's important to stand up for those we love. Faith always grows. I always think it's not just about the ones we're talking to, it's also about us when we do it. That our faith grows if we stand up, our love grows if we stand up for the one we love, right? Again, it grows when we witness charitably to its impact, this faith on our lives. Again, even more for us than for a person who experiences that or listens to us. There might still be social consequences, but the weight of true witnessing of how Jesus and the church has changed our lives will be more effective in terms of conversion than a theological lecture debate, even if we win. I'm certainly in favor of apologetics. We should have a reason for what we believe. We should be able to explain that. In a perfect world, we would. We would be able to get that perfect logical argument in, and they would be left speechless or something. But that's not most of us, most of the time. And getting into those intellectual arguments, it's kind of like going after Mike with fists. I mean, that's a possibility, but that's not going to win over Mike. And it's one of the beautiful things about the dog pile strategy. We didn't really lose Mike as a friend. We still hung out. It was embarrassing. It was just ridiculous. It was silly, but he got the point, and we are still okay. So, after our family dog pile, he never bothered Scott again. Like I said, it was like this amazing Leave It to Beaver episode, Ward Cleaver-esque. For those of you of a certain age who ever saw that show, where Beaver would get into trouble, Ward, the all-knowing wise father, would give him advice. They would go out, and it would work. By the end of the show, things would change. That's what happened. One application, and it worked. Mike never again bothered Scott. And again, we managed to keep the relationship going. Now, I'm not saying that will always be the reaction if we witness to our faith, but I would say standing up for our brother Jesus and our mother the church, it's going to have a tremendous impact upon us. But really, if you want to bring conversion to somebody, it's not to debate them and get them into an argument. probably the defenses go up, you become the adversary, and then it's winning or losing. But if we witness to what God has done, you can't contradict that. If we simply say, this is what he's done for me, it's not only powerful, but that moral courage in the midst of the crowd to be able simply to witness, it's very persuasive. Most of us are persuaded by moral courage more than we are by logical argument. And so again, out of charity even, but certainly from our own faith, to be able to, like the blind man, in the face of those who would discount Jesus, to stand up and say, this is what he's done for me.